I usually stay out of these conversations, but with Caitlin Clark, I can't stay silent anymore.
I'm sick of watching Caitlin getting attacked. If the league doesn't step up and protect her, things are going to get ugly real fast.
Alyssa Thomas, like what she does, she uses her body.
What would happen if one of the greatest basketball players ever witnessed the most gifted young athlete in the WNBA being singled out through dubious means? Michael Jordan's bombshell remarks regarding Alyssa Thomas's actions against Caitlin Clark have completely upended the basketball world. Therefore you're going to find out. Let me ask you a question first, though. Have you ever witnessed a professional athlete being singled out the way Caitlin Clark has been throughout her career? Michael Jordan's perspective on the WNBA has completely changed as a result of what he saw during that Phoenix Mercury game. This is the part of Michael Jordan's viewpoint that devastates Alyssa Thomas. Michael Jordan is precisely where Caitlin Clark is right now. In the 1980s, Michael Jordan was the best player in a league full of amazing athletes, and they attempted to physically intimidate him since they couldn't match his exceptional basketball IQ. However, Michael Jordan underlined this important fact. This is where Alyssa Thomas's reputation becomes quite interesting. Michael Jordan is aware of the distinction between what he's seen with Clark and what he witnessed in the mob scenario and championship level competitive basketball. He described it as the most cowardly act I've seen on a basketball court in decades. Yes, you heard correctly.
When you watch this playback, you can see even before that, Alyssa Thomas knees Caitlin Clark in the groin, then puts her fist into Clark's neck, and then nearly stomps on Clark while stepping over her. The ball is already gone by the time any of that happens, and despite a ref being right there, they didn't call anything. Not long after that,
Michael Jordan responded harshly and swiftly when he saw the video of Alyssa Thomas pushing Clark from behind while she was attempting to deal with being stabbed in the eye. This man, who faced well-known enforcers like Bill Laimbeer and Dennis Rodman, was the only person in basketball history who truly understood what pure competitive fire looked like. However, even he could see that Alyssa Thomas's actions were improper in terms of competitive integrity and sportsmanship. But hear what Michael Jordan has to say about the timing of that shove. Right now, Alyssa Thomas is completely devastated by his insight. Please like and subscribe to the channel before we proceed if you haven't already. Let's go back to the story now. The basketball player brought up a topic that many fans had been considering, but no one with his level of fame had the courage to speak up. Playing championship level defense is not the same as taking cheap shots at a person when they're totally exposed and not looking. Michael Jordan stressed that his time was regarded as the most physically demanding in NBA history. When you disagreed with someone, you confronted them like a warrior rather than waiting for their back to turn before acting like a predator, and that's precisely what Michael Jordan found most objectionable about Alyssa Thomas's shameful behavior. But at this moment, Alyssa Thomas's reputation is entirely shattered by Michael Jordan's statements. The basketball legend was especially enraged by Alyssa Thomas's pitiful response following the incident. Alyssa Thomas falsely claimed that the media and fans were unfairly criticizing her, rather than admitting that she might have gone too far or expressing regret. Damned if I do, damned if I don't, she murmured. However, Michael Jordan became even more enraged after hearing such remarks. According to Michael Jordan, the winners and legends of the game, truly great competitors, always accept full responsibility for their acts, particularly when those actions could seriously endanger another player. He claimed that when he witnessed Alyssa Thomas play the victim and evade criticism, he was reminded of athletes who knew deep down they couldn't compete at the greatest level. They consequently discovered other dubious methods to influence the game. In other words, Michael Jordan successfully portrayed Alyssa Thomas as a mediocre player who uses immoral methods because she lacks the actual basketball talents to match greater promise. At this point, Michael Jordan's analysis really shines and highlights Caitlin Clark's amazing traits. Michael Jordan recognizes in Clark the same special traits that made him one of the greatest basketball players in history. Her extraordinary basketball IQ, her inexplicable clutch shooting skills, and, above all, her divine vision to better everyone around her. However, as someone who values basketball ethics, he also notices something that truly worries him. Instead of concentrating solely on realizing her limitless basketball potential, this exceptionally gifted young athlete must always be on the lookout for cheap shots and dirty tricks. According to Michael Jordan, Alyssa Thomas's strategy embodies everything that is wrong with some players' decision to play Clark rather than challenging themselves to match her extraordinary skill level or outwork her on the court through commitment and preparation. The fact that she is physically attacked when she is most vulnerable is a troubling trend. Michael Jordan claims that this behavior is the worst kind of basketball competition he has ever witnessed. However, as a result, Michael Jordan's controversial remarks became the buzz of the basketball world. Michael Jordan likened Clark's situation to his own encounters with physical intimidation during his professional career. However, he didn't hesitate to draw attention to something that elevates Clark and appropriately contextualizes her circumstances. He noted that Clark, who is only 22 years old, is dealing with a lot more hardship than most athletes do throughout their careers. And she's doing it while bearing the burden of becoming the undisputed face of women's basketball. However, Michael Jordan's statement regarding Alyssa Thomas's future in the league, which is currently trending on social media, is unbelievable. According to Michael Jordan, if the WNBA permits players like Alyssa Thomas to pursue superstars without experiencing consequences, it conveys the idea that mediocre players can utilize unethical strategies to stay relevant rather than honing their actual basketball skills. According to him, this sets a risky precedent that could discourage players who are raising the standard for the league. Michael Jordan even went so far as to say that young players who watch at home are duped by the league's inability to sufficiently penalize these behaviors. He feels that viewing the WNBA should teach children about skill, dedication, and sportsmanship rather than how to choose inferior opponents. However, Michael Jordan's forecast about Clark's future in spite of these obstacles was arguably the most important aspect of his entire statement. He claimed that Clark was shaped by hardship and that every cheap shot, dirty move, and attempt to intimidate her simply strengthened her resolve to demonstrate her dominance by skill alone. Michael Jordan likened Clark's predicament to his own rookie season, during which opponents continuously put his physical stamina to the test. The difference, he noted, is that Clark is dealing with this behavior in addition to the unprecedented media attention and expectations that come with being the most marketable player in WNBA history. Michael Jordan's support for Clark is vital because of this. He's not just protecting a talented athlete. He is defending the basic purity of basketball. Caitlin Elizabeth Clark, in his perspective, exemplifies every element that makes basketball unique, including talent, vision, class, and competitiveness. He also sees everything in athletes like Alyssa Thomas that could be destructive to the sport. The basketball veteran made it apparent that the WNBA is at a turning point. They have two choices. Either they protect and highlight their top players, allowing guys like Clark to fulfill their full potential and better the league overall, or they keep permitting weaker players to employ dishonest tactics to stay relevant. The message from Michael Jordan was unequivocal: the decision made will determine the league's future. However, everyone is talking about this question: will the WNBA heed Michael Jordan's advice to keep Caitlin Clark safe, or will they keep letting athletes like Alyssa Thomas use dubious tactics to damage the league's reputation? Let's carry on the discussion in the comments section below. How do you feel about Michael Jordan's severe condemnation of Alyssa Thomas's actions? Do you believe his complaints are entirely valid? Or do you think he's being overly critical? More significantly, do you think the WNBA will eventually take action to safeguard its biggest star? Please share your ideas in the comments section below. I read each and every one of them. Make sure you click the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell if you want to see more analysis like this that cuts through the noise and explains what's actually going on in basketball. Caitlin Clark's situation in the WNBA might eventually change as a result of Michael Jordan's controversial remarks. The basketball community is keeping an eye on this problem. As this story develops, one thing becomes more difficult to ignore. Discussions are no longer limited to one game, one hard foul, or one controversial occurrence. It has to do with the future of women's basketball, the standards the league wants to uphold, and how its best players are treated when the spotlight is shining. Few athletes have ever had to contend with the kind of expectations that Caitlin Clark faced before entering the WNBA. Every game she plays is watched by millions of people. Every action she does is scrutinized from every angle, every success is celebrated, and every setback garners media attention. That's what it means to be one of the biggest names in basketball today. Meanwhile, veterans from all throughout the league continue to compete at the highest level, bringing years of experience, tenacity, and pride to every match. The WNBA's goal is to ensure that fierce competition never devolves into unnecessary or dangerous play. Intensity is what fans want, rivalries are what they want. They are searching for authentic basketball, but they also want respect, equity, and stability. Michael Jordan's comments have sparked heated debate because He is a person who understands what it's like to perform under duress. During his remarkable career, Michael Jordan faced some of the most fearsome opponents and fiercest defenders basketball has ever seen. But his message was more than simply toughness. It was about maintaining the integrity of the game and making sure that basketball skill, rather than controversy, remains the primary focus. Whether you completely agree with Michael Jordan's point of view or believe the situation has been exaggerated, there is no denying that his comments have generated discussion. Fans, experts, past players, and media personalities continue to debate what should happen when the league's brightest talents become the focal point of physical play. Do authorities need to be stricter? Should the league apply harsher penalties, or is this simply a normal part of being a professional basketball player? Everybody appears to react differently. There is no doubt about Caitlin Clark's response. Instead of letting controversy, physical defense, or criticism define her career, she has continued to focus on basketball. She keeps competing, showing up, and proving why so many believe she represents the sport's future. One of the main reasons her supporters still stand by her is her tenacity. Unprecedented attention.